Live to see it, friends, and welcome to the World Transform. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and all this week I'm talking with Nate Gruendemann. Nate is not your typical 22-year-old. He's young enough to still have high school senior class president and valedictorian on his resume, but after 2 years at Williams College, he and his buddies dropped out to found Board Private Bank. We're going to be talking with Nate about Board Private Bank and various topics throughout the week. The mission of Board Private Bank is to level the playing field between mortgage buyers and cash buyers in the country's most competitive market. So we're going to be getting into that one a little bit today. Nate, welcome to the World Transformed.
Good to be here. You have so many super smart guests, so I'm really honored to be here and be one of those.
Well, it's great to have you with us. And of course, for those who don't know, one of the super smart guests we frequently have on the show, perhaps our most frequent guest of all time, is Nate's mom, PJ Manny. So, PJ, if you're listening to this, it's great that we've gone to a new generation of guests on the World Transform.
Love you, Mom.
Important that we get that in there, too. So let's talk about Board Private Bank. But maybe before that, how in the world did you get interested in real estate? And you might hear of people dropping out of college to get into real estate, but not typically to go start a bank. So step us through that a little bit.
Yeah, we really we took an atypical route. So I like to start my story back when I was 10. So my parents actually, they were selling their house, and we had the best realtor in town. And even though we had everything all tied up, everything was planned out, it was uncertain, it was painful, it was slow, and it was really a struggle for them and for me.
LA 10 years ago?
Yes, this was in LA.
So probably a pretty hot market at the time?
It was a super hot market.
Right.
And all those things considered, it was really tough for them to sell. And that stress and uncertainty that they felt, it impacted me as well. So it was one of those things where you just sort of, notice.
Sure. Well, here you are, you're a kid, and you're wondering what's going to happen next, and things like moving. It was where you'd lived your whole life?
It was so we had moved from New Zealand to LA.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Exactly. And it was just such an uncertain time for them that I could feel that.
You could feel it. Plus, it's uncertainty in your own life. Where am I going to live? What's going to happen?
Well, exactly. But I always thought where there's pain, there's opportunity, and so that's sort of where even at 10, I was like, man, there's
got to be a better way to do this.
Exactly.
Okay. So fast forward, then what happened?
So I meet my co-founders in college, and we all share this passion for real estate, and it's really interesting because we were all sort of those atypical students. I never liked school. I always I was unfortunately good at it. And stuck with it.
Unfortunately, good at it.
I feel like when you're good at it,
mm-hmm.
you can get stuck. That
right. Okay. A lot of people would like to have that bad luck, right, of being unfortunately good at school. But I understand what you're saying. Maybe you don't always want to push on with academics if that's not the direction that your life wants to take you.
Exactly, and I think I got sort of stuck in the cycle of being good at it, and I got stuck in school.
You got stuck in school, and you got yourself unstuck. So how did you and your friends decide that's it? We're done with college. We're going to go do this other thing.
Yeah, so we had the opportunity to take the summer off, sophomore summer, and we put our heads together, and we wanted to check out what was wrong with real estate, and so. That sort of one thing led to another, and we dropped out with no real good idea, and that was sort of a big leap of faith for us. But we honestly felt that it was a bigger risk to stay in school than to leave.
Now, someday when we do a show about probability, there's also a whole roulette story here that could be told.
There is a roulette story.
We won't tell that today, but that actually came while you were still in school, anyways.
That was while we were still in school.
Okay, so roulette wasn't tempting enough to get you to quit school.
Roulette was one of those things where we loved that story and we loved that opportunity, but it's still. We beat the casino. We had the story to tell, and one day we will tell that story. But yeah, it's just one of those things where we realized that we were a great team to work together.
Can't tell too much because you're still optioning the screenplay for that one, I'm sure. But okay, so you're going to do something about real estate. You're not sure what. You quit school, or did you have a pretty good idea in mind what you were going to do?
No, we had no idea. Okay. So we had a bad idea at the time, and our the way that we wanted to move forward was we would go and pitch this horrible idea. And so we'd go meet real estate agents, bank brokers, anyone high up in the industry, the highest as we could get at the time. We leveraged our college
What was
networks.
the bad idea?
The bad idea was, it was an incomplete idea.
It was not a good idea. It wasn't going to work.
It was a bad enough idea. We just saw the inefficiencies in real estate, and but we had no experience.
Right.
So we went out. Like I had never bought a home before. I had never bought or sold a home before. My co-founders and I are 20.
Right.
And so we drop out and we just start pitching. We meet the top broker. This is a funny story. We meet the top broker in New York. Mm-hmm. And we're pitching him this idea, and we want to sell him that his 10 million, his borrowers that are, or his home buyers that are buying homes for $10 million are going to need a mortgage.
Right.
That's our business.
Right.
We're trying to sell this mortgage, and he's like, "Sorry to burst your bubble, but my buyers buy all cash. That's like, because this is New York. Like,
right.
I have Russian oligarchs and like like movie stars are my clients."
They don't need a mortgage.
They don't need a mortgage.
Even for tax reasons, they don't need a mortgage.
Exactly. So
because they're not paying any taxes. Let's face it.
Let's face it. So we turned the pitch on its head, and we're like, all right, we lost the pitch, right? We're not gonna convince this guy that we have a good idea, but
right.
There's a learning opportunity there. So we're like, so what do your buyers need? Why is cash so prevalent?
Right.
And he was like, because it's stronger than a mortgage. Right. Because it's cash is king. That's the mantra. In real estate, cash is what you want. It's certainty.
Right.
And so, we changed our whole idea on the spot right then. And I think that's has a lot to do with us being so young and us knowing that we don't know anything. Through this whole experience, the only thing we know is that we don't know everything.
So cash is king, and
cash is king.
Here we are in Colorado, where the real estate market's been going through the roof the last few years, and we've seen a huge uptick in the number of deals that are cash deals. It didn't used to be the norm here or anywhere else, except maybe Manhattan, right? Where a deal would be closed because somebody shows up with cash, and you can always buy the house if you've got the cash in hand. You make the offer, and everything else is always pending.
That's exactly
financing.
Right.
Everything else is always going to be assuming you can get the loan. Assuming, and a lot of times it's assuming I can sell my house, get that money, get the loan for the next one. So there's all this conditional stuff, and people go into shopping for a house having thought about all that, and they've sort of got their ducks lined up, but they're never going to be in as strong a position as somebody who shows up and they've just got the money on them.
That's exactly right. And so the real problem here in the industry was that banks aren't helping out borrowers get all those ancillary services that you need to get a mortgage. You need to get financing, you need to get an appraisal, you need to get a home inspection. There are all these parts of a real estate transaction that happen after you actually sign that contract.
Right.
And that's inefficient. And that's what leads cash to being king, because you don't need to get financing, you don't need an appraisal for a cash deal. You just go in, you say, here's my my proof of funds, and it's a done deal.
Right.
And so that's why sellers desire them so much. They're certain. Right.
Right.
It's as certain as you can get in real estate.
It's interesting to think about that. So much of that ritual associated with buying and selling a house is actually a ritual attached to the financing of the house.
Exactly right.
Not to the buying.
It's exactly right.
Because buying a house or selling a house is just like buying or selling anything else, right?
Exactly right. So here's the question we asked ourselves. How do we democratize the cash offer for everyone? How do we give everyone that superpower so that when you're in the market, a super hot market like Denver, you can beat out that cash buyer? How about New York? How about San Francisco, LA? All these markets, and these urban markets especially, where cash is king. We wanted to level the playing field.
So you can take the average working schlub or the average family, whatever,
exactly,
and put them on a level playing field, your term, with someone who has cash in hand.
Exactly.
Or at least that's the vision.
That's the vision. Anyone who qualifies for a mortgage, the vision is we can get them a cash offer.
Okay.
We can turn them into a cash buyer.
Right. So, how's it work? What do you do?
Sure. So we move all those ancillary services we spoke about up front. Okay. So, the financing, we fully underwrite and process your loan up front, so we know exactly how much you can buy. Most banks don't want to, they don't want to invest in that transaction up front. So it costs money to do underwriting, appraisal, all those ancillary services. They want to leave it till the end when they know they have the deal. We believe that it's important that all gets done up front, so there is no uncertainty. So we'll go in and we'll do your financing, including your underwriting, and we'll fix your loan up front.
And when you say we, you mean Board Private Bank, which is
bank.
Your bank.
My bank.
What we skipped here is you guys started a bank somewhere along.
Exactly. Yes, we did. So we realized, we'll backtrack a little bit. So we realized that the only real way to level the playing field and give these mortgage buyers the same ability as cash buyers is to actually be the lender, right? Because all this stuff is all on the lending side. Basically, the lender has to come in and say, all right, we're going to elevate these mortgage borrowers to the level of cash such that there can actually be a level playing field.
Right. So you are a bank with a different process. And the process is we front load all of that stuff.
That's exactly right.
That is triggered typically to happen later, which makes, I mean, they do it for a reason. They do it because that way they're not doing all this stuff, and if the deal doesn't work out, then they wasted their time, right? That's at least that would be their rationale.
That is the rationale
for not doing it. So how do you make up that difference, I guess, right? If you are willing to invest all that time, what mitigates that loss, right? From your
here's the
standpoint?
secret. Now they're certain. They're the strongest buyers in the market.
Oh, okay.
So they come in here, and yes, every transaction won't necessarily work out. It's still a super hot market. These are still uncertain transactions. But when we come in up front and level that playing field and elevate these borrowers to become cash buyers, now they're the strongest borrowers there are. They're the strongest buyers.
So let's talk a little bit about what difference that makes.
Sure.
Okay. Because it sounds nice. You're helping out the little guy, so leveling the playing field. But what's the big picture on that? What difference does it make whether people have a foot up in the buying a home or not? How's that? Let's use the Silicon Valley phrase, right? How's that making the world a better place, right? If you do that, okay.
So we believe that home ownership empowers human potential. So it unlocks human potential. So home ownership, whatever your definition of home is, we think that home ownership can help you get there. Whether it's raising a family, whether it's leaving a financial legacy for your kids, whatever that is, we believe that home ownership really it helps you close that generational wealth gap for these people that are our target market.
Right. Absolutely. I can see that. So let's talk a little bit about where you've made it work. How long have you been in the business, and has anyone had the field leveled for them and gotten a home out of it?
Exactly. So we're just in we're right at the starting gate.
Right.
But the great news is that this isn't theory anymore. This is practice. So we're underwriting our first board cash buyers today. For example, one of them is in Louisville. She's a mortgage borrower. She's going to need an FHA loan, which is typically has more requirements. It's a weaker offer.
Right.
So we're going in there, and she's already lost to 3 cash buyers. That's 3 rejections in a row.
So Central Kentucky is another hot real estate market. Apparently.
You'd be surprised. We were in Hanover, New Hampshire for 8 months, and even there, in the middle of New Hampshire, not a super urban place, but they need cash.
Right.
It's still a hot enough market where sellers desire certainty no matter what, no matter where you are.
Right. So here she is. She's lost out 3 times to a cash buyer trying to get her own home.
Exactly.
She's got not only the disadvantage of like the rest of us who when we go to buy a house she has to have a mortgage, but also she's an FHA mortgage, which you say that's a disadvantage. Why is that?
Because there are more requirements. So without getting too much into the weeds, like the regulatory requirements, and because it's government backed, there are more heavier appraisal requirements, heavier underwriting requirements, and that means that the deal is less certain to go through in general. For us, we can offer FHA borrowers cash offer advantage no matter what. And
now this customer is on a level playing field with everyone, or you're putting her on one now?
We are doing that right now. So we're underwriting her and making sure that when she places her next offer, she'll be have the equal consideration with anyone.
So all she has to do is find her house.
That's exactly right.
That's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about someone your age going into a business like this. Does it help, do you think, that you didn't have time to work in the real estate industry for 15 years and be told that this was all impossible so that you couldn't try something like this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Phil. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but for myself and my team, it was definitely an advantage to be naive and not know.
Right.
And I think there's even an advantage being young where you're allowed to take those risks and you're allowed to ask dumb questions. That's really big. We could go in there and pitch and it goes horribly, and then we can flip it on its head. And really get out of that. We can be the dumb person in the room. We can be naive, and that's okay.
That's one of the things, because we talked before the show about just young entrepreneurs in general and where do they stack up against older entrepreneurs. And you think, well, the old ones have the experience.
Of course.
They've also got the risk aversion, which
Absolutely.
which can be a little problem. But I think the biggest thing standing in someone's way when they set out to start a business is knowing up front all the reasons why it can't work. Actually, It's the biggest reason. It's the biggest thing that stands in front of anybody doing anything in the world, right?
It's true.
Is having this certain knowledge in your head that it can't work. So if you've been in finance for years, if you've been in especially home financing for years, or if you've been in the real estate business for years, you know going in that what you've just described isn't possible.
That's exactly right.
And so you won't even try, right?
Exactly right.
They won't even try. So I think this is probably the best lesson that entrepreneurs of any age can learn from you guys is, you know what? It's not impossible. Things actually can happen. We've been doing a whole series of shows, Stephen and I, talking about uncertainty, talking about certainty, uncertainty, what we know, what we think we know, and what we just plain don't know. And the truth is, there's so much more we don't know than that we do. We're capable of so much more in this day than we have been in the past. It's a great opportunity. It's a great time to be young and naive, I think.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. Yeah, we're really lucky to have a great team, and we're open to any possibility. So we tried to ask pointed questions instead of just any question. So we'd go up and we'd say like, what's holding your deals up? How can we make this experience better? And they'd say, the big problem is these multiple offer situations and cash buyers beating out mortgage buyers, and certain buyers can't even have access to that market. We would have never have known that was a problem just on face value. We needed the experience. We needed the veterans to come in and help us. We can be the visionaries. We can sort of dream and be naive and irrational and say that what is quote unquote impossible is in fact possible. But ultimately, we do need the veterans, and they've been, we've been incredibly lucky to build a team around us. We have a team of real estate agents and attorneys and bankers and lenders, and all these people are the people who are telling us that this is in fact possible. It's just it's an adjacent possible. It's right there,
and adjacent possible,
but it's invisible unless you pull it all together.
It was a hidden adjacent possible.
Hidden adjacent possible.
Absolutely, and you went out and you found it. You do need those folks, but they need you too. That's the key. We all need people asking these kinds of questions and making these kinds of new ventures into areas that we think are settled. I think there's so much in the business world in particular where we've already got it all figured out, and we've got it to figure it out.
Exactly. And
technology and just the fact that people are willing to try new things give us the opportunity to do
anything.
Absolutely. We won't say anything is possible.
We won't say anything.
We won't say anything is possible. That's a no-no around here. But we will say that you have opened up a whole new set of possibilities for a lot of people. And congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Nate, it's great having you with us. We're going to be back with Nate on Wednesday's show, and we're going to wrap up the week with Nate on Friday. So if you've enjoyed this show, join us again on Wednesday. And until next time, live to see it.